Hello everyone, this is Aaron Johnson with the Johnson iRacing team. I'm coming to you today from Southern National Motorsports Park. Southern National is the current track in Season 1 of 2021 in the iRacing Advanced Legends Cup Series. If you're a fan of the Johnson iRacing team, Southern National Motorsports Park reminds me a fair amount of Lebanon I-44 Speedway in Missouri. That's the track that we raced on in the 90s. High banked, fairly narrow straightaways, tight corners, a lot of grip, quick track, but it's I think for me anyway, a fairly challenging track to try to become consistent on, and I'll explain that why that is in just a minute. It's a 3/8 mile track, and it's been a starting off point for a fair number of drivers. Well, let's go ahead and jump in. I've got the driving line off for the moment. We're going to run a couple of laps around the track just to kind of see what it feels like to turn laps at Southern National Motorsports Park. We're crossing the start-finish line now. We'll head down into turn 1. As with most tracks, we want to get right down on the line that marks the boundary between the apron and the driving surface, and we want to keep our left side tires as close to that as we can. Coming out of the racetrack, we're going to be right up against the wall again. So it's going to look in a lot of ways like the same lap that we always run at nearly any track, and in many ways it is. The challenge at Southern National Motorsports Park, if you've been watching, is that there aren't a lot of really good marks on the track. It's difficult to figure out exactly where you need to turn in, where you need to get on the throttle, and then what line you're going to follow coming out. The turn-in marks are really difficult here, but I've figured out a way for the line that I run to at least try to be consistent and find the right turn-in points. So let's back up, and we'll go all the way back to where we began. It's here on lap number 30. We're right at the start-finish line. And let's walk through a lap at Southern National Motorsports Park. And for the purposes of walking through a lap here, I'm going to go ahead and turn the driving line back on, and then we'll go through a lap with it off. So we're going to turn the driving line on to start with. That's right here under Options. We'll click off here. So now you can see the driving line. And as we come into the straightaway here, we've run a 15:78 on our last lap. That's a pretty quick lap. I've got a feeling just from watching my car that there's a lot more in it than that, and I feel like we can do quite a bit better. But for now, we've run a set 15:780. We're getting ready to cross the start-finish line, and as we cross the start-finish line, I'm going to go ahead and that was a strange thing to do. We ended up zooming out. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of forward this a frame at a time. What I'm watching when I drive here is I'm watching these lines, the lane divider lines in this outside line, and I'm watching for this line, these two lines right here. These two lines are the lines that mark where the corner really starts to turn in this outside lane. My goal driving this car is going to be to turn my car in so that I just clip this particular lane marker. I want to clip this lane marker, I want to clip the next one to the inside, and then I want to arc my car until my two left side tires are right down on the white line. So let's follow that through in slow motion. You can see I start my turn just as I get to this line, and I'm going to try to clip this line. Can't really see it because of the driving line, and we won't be racing, at least I won't be racing with the driving line on. So let me back that up just a little bit. We're watching for this third line. It's right here. I'm going to start my turn in just as this lane marker goes past my left side A-pillar. I want to be turning in and clipping this marker and then clipping the next marker and then steering on down into the center of the corner right onto the white line that separates the banking from the apron. So you can see as I'm kind of fast forwarding through, make my turn in. I'm going to try to clip this line right here. I'm going to try to clip this one, and then I'm also going to try to just barely clip that one. And then the third one, I'm not going to be able to clip, and I don't want to. That'd be too sharp of a turn in. Now I'm going to let the car drift toward the apex of the corner. And I want to get right down on this white line that separates the banking from the apron. A fair warning, if you get a couple of wheels on the apron, it's going to be big trouble because it really unbalances the car. The banking here is over 20 degrees or around 20 degrees. The apron's pretty much flat. When you get the left front down onto the apron, it changes the distribution of weight in the car and tends to loosen the car up. And you're going to find yourself clipping the apron and spinning a lot. Don't worry about that. It's going to happen in practice. Your goal is going to be to consistently get right down on this line so that you don't clip the apron, so you do run the fastest lap you can. As you come out of the corner, you're going to roll back into the throttle. That's one of the things we always preach. And when you get fully into the throttle, you're going to let the car start to drift back up off the turn. Again, not really a good marker for getting on the throttle or getting out of the turn. This track is pretty vanilla. There just aren't many distinctive marks that you can look for to get yourself in and out of the corner. You're going to come out of the corner pretty hard, unwind the steering wheel, let the car drift right up next to the wall, and follow the wall down the front straightaway. And again, you're going to be looking for this same set of lane dividing markers, right? You have these two that mark the corner, and you've got 1, 2, and 3. We're looking for 3, 2, 1. We want to clip this lane marker as well. The track's a little bit different here, so now instead of starting your turn in just as this goes past, this third line goes past your A-pillar, you're going to wait until it's in your vision here. And once you see it's in your vision, in your window, is when you'll start making that turn. So you watch my steering wheel, it's straight. Now that's in my window. As I can see that lane marker pass completely by the A-pillar and go into my window, that's when I start making the turn. I'm going to make the turn in and try to clip this, what I think of as marker number 1. So these two are the turn markers. This is the first mark back into the straightaway. I can't quite get as low in this corner, but I still want to see if I can't get this marker right here to go, say, just between the edge of my hood and the edge of my windshield. So if I can make it look like it's going to pass between the edge of the hood and the windshield, I'm on a pretty good track. So if we back that up just for a second, we want to clip this one. We want this to kind of go right under the edge of the hood. And so we want it to go right in here. And then the next one, we want this lane marker to be kind of going between the edge of our hood and our windshield. If we can make that our target, then the car is going to go ahead and roll onto the corner on its own. We're not going to have to steer in a whole lot more, maybe a bit more right in the middle of the corner to force that car down. We're going to be completely off the throttle, and we're going to come on out of the corner. All right, so let's watch this again. These are our two corner markers. This is the mark we're going to try to hit. We're going to start our turn just as this marker goes past the driver's side A-pillar. So let's watch that. Try to clip those markers, get right down on the white line, roll back into the throttle, up against the wall, same thing. We've got these two marks. We're going to start our turn after this marker goes past the A-pillar. Let's watch that. Down into the corner, roll back into the throttle, mash the gas, get right back out to the front straightaway. The in and out marks are pretty straightforward. It's in part because the track is fairly unremarkable that it's difficult, and that's why I end up using these lane markers. So I'm going to use these two. I'm going to count back 1, 2, 3, so when we turn the driving line off, you can see that a little better. These are our two corner markers, 1, 2, 3. This is the mark I'm watching for. When that mark goes past, hits my A-pillar, I'm going to start my turn in. There the marks hit my A-pillar, and I'm turning in. Okay, I'm going to follow that turn in. I want to clip this one. I want to clip this marker right here. And then this marker, I want to see if I can make it kind of go between this hood pin and the edge of my windshield. We've got that about where I want it. Then we'll follow this right on down into the apex of the corner. We want to get as low as we can. We're going to be putting a lot of wheel in it here in the center of the corner. And as we get to the center of the corner, we want to be rolling into the throttle. One of the keys at Southern National, get into the throttle as quickly as you can, make the straightaway as long as you can make it. Here we go. Now we're out onto the front straightaway. I can now see my lane markers. These are the two, right? This guy's just going by, so it's going to be time to start making the turn because I'm going to want to clip that marker right there. So here we go, starting our turn because this mark, the third one, is in the window. And we're going to try to clip this marker and then make that second lane here go between the edge of the windshield and that hood pin. All right, so I've clipped that marker, and this one's going between, right here, between the edge of the hood and the corner of the windshield. We're going to let the car roll into the corner, and we're going to start mashing the gas as soon as we make the apex. Okay, so that's the line that I follow. All right, now let's go ahead and watch that both laps in full speed. I'm probably not going to comment. I'm just going to let you watch it. Turn in. You see those turn-in points are about the same. A little bit later, coming into 3, then coming into 1. Okay, so there should be a couple of other things that you're noticing. One of them is you should be noticing that for the first time since I've started making these videos, I'm using the brake going into the corner. I'm doing something called trail braking, so I'm braking after I start my turn. And if you watch, you'll see that I'm just barely dragging the brake. I'm not hitting the brake hard, but what it's doing is it's slowing the car and stabilizing the car just a little bit. And I feel like for my style, and this may not work for you, but for my style, I get more grip coming into the turn, and that allows me to get into the corner a little better and get through the center of the corner better. All right, so we're going to watch this now. Watch my brake over here on the left side. You're going to see that I just start to drag the brake, and I start to drag the brake after I've made my turn in. I'm turning in. My red light is pegged. I'm still fully on the throttle. I haven't let off the throttle yet, and I won't let off the throttle until probably just after I get past that first mark. That's when I'll let off the throttle, and I'll start dragging the brake just a little bit after that. I'm not putting hardly any brake in it. I mean, this is just barely enough brake to even hear the brakes squeal. But for me and for my style and for this line, I think the brake's probably necessary, at least for the setup that I'm running it is. All right, so then we're down onto the apex, rolling back into the throttle. The other thing you'll notice is I roll back in, but I get in pretty quickly. This track, it seems, that is the closest thing that I do to using the throttle as an on-off switch. I get on pretty quickly, but I'm still trying to squeeze that throttle a little bit rather than just mashing it flat. Out of the corner, up against the wall then. Now we're looking. Again, here's our 2 marks. Then count 1, 2, 3. When this mark goes through that window, it's time to start your turn. There's the mark coming through the window now, right here. And you can see I'm just starting to turn the steering wheel. Still on the throttle hard. Trying to clip this line, and then we're going to make this line go right through here, the end of it. And just after I clip that line, I get off the gas and I start to touch the brake. And I just barely touch the brake, just enough to slow the car any. It stabilizes the car. Then right in the apex of the corner, start to roll back into the throttle. Get into the throttle pretty quick, and then let the car drift back up toward that outside wall. That was a 15.633. That's a quick lap. I've been looking at some of the lap times that the top split's running. You know, high times or fast times are running in the 15.6s, down around 15.61, and average lap speeds are pretty good. That was a 6.29. So if we follow this line, we're running up against the wall. We're trying to clip the first marker that's not part of these two that make the turn mark. So this mark right here, we're trying to clip it, and then we're trying to go ahead and get that one as well to kind of go inside our A-pillar. Our turn-in point is this, what I think of as the third line back, 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's kind of what we're trying to do. So let's go back and let's watch this entire run starting with lap number 30, and I will offer just a little bit of commentary, and then I think we'll let you guys get out and run hard, and I'll give you maybe a couple of little bits of advice on setup just as we finish. So let's watch a few laps here, and I'll just comment briefly. So I ran a 15.855 on the lap previous to this one. 8.55 is not a great lap. It's not a terrible lap. Down to a 6.33. That's a quick lap. A 6.33 will be competitive in the top split. Probably not good enough to win without running several of them in a row. You can see I'm right down on the line. This looks like it should be a pretty good lap. Up against the wall again. Turn in, cross that marker, cross the second one, down onto the apex. Slid up just a little bit here. This may be a little slower lap, hard to tell. Up against the wall. Catch your marks. Down into the corner, roll back into the throttle. Got on the throttle good there. This is going to be pretty quick. 6.53, again, pretty good lap. Right down on that white line, then roll into the throttle hard down the back straightaway. Right down on the white line. This is going to be a good lap. Right down on the white line, then back up and out, cross the start-finish line. 15.607. That's going to be a really quick line. Got in too deep there. You can see the car push up coming out. So I got in a little hard. But notice I continue to drag the brake. And I drag the brake in what looks like, really, if this were digital and had the little digital line markers, it looks like it's about what I would think of as 2 clicks. Just enough to settle the car down. And for me, the brake is really important. You may wonder, how am I doing that? How am I dragging the brake, getting back on the gas the way I'm getting on? I left foot brake. So I have my setup built to do left foot braking. It's the way I braked the little bit of stock car driving that I did back in the 90s. I was a left foot brake kind of guy. Not everybody is. So I think for me personally, left foot braking at Southern National Motorsports Park is important. So kind of to recap then, as we run a lap here at Southern National, we're going to look for this third line back from these two markers, 1, 2, 3. This is our turn-in point. On the front straightaway coming into turn 1, we're going to start our turn just as this mark goes past or goes into our A-pillar. And we can see that right here. It's going into the A-pillar. I make my turn. We try to clip this mark and that one and then roll right on down into the corner with the goal of getting both wheels on the white line without getting them onto the apron. Back out onto the front straightaway, hard onto the throttle, same thing. We're looking for the same 3 marks. 1, 2, 3. We're going to start our turn in when this mark actually gets past the A-pillar, but we're going to still try to clip this line and that line. And we're going to brake. We're going to get off the throttle and start braking between these 2 lines. There's the turn in. There I start coming off the throttle. And by the time I get to this line and this line disappears, I'm rolling into the brake. And just barely dragging the brake as we run through. Then back out onto the front straightaway and rinse and repeat. Okay. So we'll go ahead and watch one more full blast, wide open. I said we'd watch one more, but that was the end of the practice. So let's back one up. And let's go ahead and watch a full lap for you. You see the car got a little loose going in that time. If you hit the brake too hard, you'll loosen the car up. You can end up spinning yourself out. So the key is going to be to find that consistent braking point as well if you decide you need to use brake. What else can I tell you about Southern National Motorsports Park? As with most Legends Cars tracks, at this track, the cars prefer low pressure in their tires, whether those tires are warm or cold. And at Southern National, on my setup, the one that I'm running here in this video, my left front spring is the stiffest spring on the car. There's depending on the weather, anywhere from a 50 to a 75-pound split between left front and right front. And then I run the 2 rear springs at the same spring rate. My experience with my driving style and with the lines that I'm showing you has been that setups tend to hold up longer. They tend to last better over the long run if the 2 rear springs are the same spring rate. That's it from Southern National Motorsports Park. I hope this video helps you figure out how to find the fast line here. I hope you're able to go fast. I hope you're stable, because it's a lot more fun to race with a guy or a girl, a driver whose car is stable. If they're faster than you are, they're less likely to spin out and get you when they pass you. And if you're faster than they are, they're more likely to be able to hold a stable line as you go past them. So part of what I'm doing here with these videos is self-interest. I know that all of you guys are going to be getting better and better. We're going to be racing against each other. And I want you to be fast and stable so that we have a better chance of running without having any incidents. For the Johnson iRacing team on the Johnson iRacing Network, this is Aaron Johnson saying, go fast, turn left, have fun.